everyone, thank you so much for stopping by and for hanging out with me today. By clicking on this video, I'm sure you're just as excited as I am to try out, or at least see, these LA Girl products in action. So if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you find this video helpful and maybe inspiring enough to click the subscribe button so we can hang out again in the future. My name is Em and you're watching Makeupry. Today I went to Ulta and I had the intention of picking up one item, but of course I walk out with quite the collection. I remember perusing comments on someone's video, and I wish I could remember whose video it was, but where we're talking about LA Girl and how good they were. LA Girl is a brand that I really don't have any experience with outside of an eyeliner or lipstick, I think. I decided today that I wanted to try out the things that they're well known for, and apparently they're well known for their concealer and for their face products. So I thought, let's give them a whirl and a swirl and a blend on the face. So I picked up quite a few things from them today. So I picked up the LA Girl Pro Prep HD Definition Smoothing Face Primer. I also picked up two foundations. One is the Pro Matte HD High Definition Longwear Matte Foundation. This one is an ivory, which I believe is their lightest shade aside from this one. This one is a foundation mixing pigment. A lot of my foundations right now are too dark for me, just because I'm not outside as much this year, or I don't know, I'm just not getting as tan as I usually do. So I figure, why let those go to waste? I can just lighten them. So I purchased this as well. What's really cool about LA Color is that these were $4.50 each. Next up was the Pro Concealer HD High Definition Concealer. This is something that a lot of people were raving about in the comments, so I thought for $2.50, let's try it. Also, this powder. This is the LA Girl Pro Powder HD Definition Setting Powder. This one is in banana yellow because I prefer to have a little bit of pigment to my powder so I don't get a white cast. And then I also picked up the eyeshadow primer. This is in a stick format, so that'll be interesting. I also picked up some eyeliners and a brow pencil. So I'm going to do the brow pencil today, but not the eyeliners because, well, let me just show you. I got some funky colors and I have plans to film a different eye look today, so I'm going to not do the eyeliners today. I'm going to wear this for a couple of days. I'm going to do this full routine and I'm going to film each segment of that and then do a final review at the end. So stay tuned for that if you're interested, but let's dive into it. I'm going to speed through a lot of this because I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to apply my primer first, and then I'm going to take my foundation, put that on, some concealer, I'm going to powder my face, and then do eyeshadow primer, and then I'll come back and kind of give you a first impressions thoughts, and then we'll skip ahead to the other days. Alright, so let's go. I'm going to hydrate my face really quickly. Forgot to put on moisturizer. I'm going to use my Clinique one. I think it's important to note that I am moisturizing my face because if you do not have a moisturized face, then that does affect how your primer and foundation lie, especially if you have texture. So, alright, now let's zip forward. So this is the first round. I look ghostly. This is actually the first time I've ever been able to purchase the lightest shade and it's too dark for me. At least in terms of kind of this drugstore foundation. This is a pretty medium coverage to start. More on the high end just because it did cover up a multitude of redness aside from the texture that's around my eyes, but I can't help that because I had an allergic reaction to something, so my eyes are a little scaly, but you can still see my freckles through here. I like this natural look though. It looks like skin. It doesn't look like I've caked on a ton of foundation. So far so good. So let's go ahead and move on to concealer. Ooh, that is really bright. I did go with a lighter concealer knowing that it would be brighter, but I didn't expect it to be this light. So I look really ghostly. I'm going to have to bronze up my face, to be honest. But I think in the winter time this would be a really great combination. If you imagine me being this light, it has a really great potential to highlight and contour. It's like a reverse contour because you're bringing forth the highlighting, strobing. That does a nice job. I like that. Although I'm still seeing some dark circles here, I would have to color correct that. It's not going to hide it. It is clinging quite a bit to the texture around my eyes. Oh, it looks so ghostly in my viewfinder. This is pretty true to color now. So far not too bad. It's definitely up there in terms of coverage. Now I guess we'll see how this does. Ooh, I have a little hair here. This did cover up a lot of my freckles here, so I'm not sure that I grabbed the right color. I'm glad I got the banana powder because it'll add a little bit of color back to my face. So I'm going to use a little brush to do this instead of a powder puff. This does come with a nice little powder puff though, and it's a little soft one. It's like a microfiber, which I like better than the sponges. The sponges can just really absorb too much product, and then it becomes really unhygienic after a while. Okay, that's a little better. It's not so ghostly white. Yeah, look at this side compared to this one. Like, I'm not as ghostly white. I feel like my dark circles are a little bit more pronounced right now because of how light this was. I think I'm going to color correct tomorrow when I do this again, and you'll see a difference. And I'm just going light-handed with this powder. And right up here too. Just whatever's left on the brush. Just kind of fluff away any excess. I'm sure you could bake with this, but I'm not a baker. I'm not a powder baker. I am a baker when it comes to other stuff, which, by the way, I'm going to plug my other channel. If you did not know, I actually have 2 other channels. I'm not as frequently uploading to the others yet, but I have a channel called Weiss Pieces, because Weiss is my last name. That one is my lifestyle channel where I do cooking and crafts and artwork, and eventually there will be some home improvement stuff on there, so if you're interested in that stuff, go check it out. I'm not loving how this looks around the eyes. You can see so much texture, but we'll see how it goes. Let's do the eye primer. Ooh, this is interesting. Well, if I have any blue or purpley veins showing up on my lid, this will cancel them out because it is orange. Actually, this might work really well. I'm going to try this tomorrow for the under eye because usually peach tones do a really good job covering up dark circles and doing color corrections. So I'm going to use this tomorrow for under eye and kind of see if that helps get rid of some of that dark circleness. So it's interesting. I would not normally use this as an eyeshadow primer. Usually I like it to come out as a clear base. So my face feels pretty natural. I don't feel like I'm wearing any sticky product. This is definitely a matte foundation. I think I'm going to try a couple things with it. I'm going to mix it in with a moisturizer on one day. I'm going to do a different method on color correction and apply less concealer and see if that helps me look less ghostly. We'll try a couple different scenarios out so I can give you a full comprehensive review. So stay tuned for the rest of those. Alright, hi again, it's me, hello. So we're on day 2 of this wear test. I have a little update on how the foundation and concealer and all that stuff held up after the fact. So aside from the fact that I looked ghostly pale, I did this look here, as you can see. I've uploaded this video already, so if you want to go check it out, feel free. The foundation, as you will see in that video, is pretty light, so I looked very ghostly. I actually, to be honest, I did not like how that foundation looked on me. I felt like since I had to layer so many products on to kind of get everything to be the right color tone for me, and the concealer and the texture and all this stuff on my face, I ended up taking it off about an hour or so later. But before I did that, I was wiping my nose because I have allergies, and I noticed a ton of foundation and concealer came off with it, so much so that it was so noticeable even with the powder. So that was kind of like a uh-oh for me. However, I want to continue on with this, so I went back to Ulta and I picked up some darker shades. So I actually picked up 2 more just to try things out, because I think it's important to really showcase a product when it is the right skin tone for me. Unfortunately, the exact next one up from this really pale one was not available, so these are 2 and 3 steps higher, if that makes sense. So I picked up beige and bisque. Ooh, it's warm in here, so my skin is really shiny. So perhaps this foundation will be perfect for that. So I'm going to do another wear test. Let me just quickly do a little color test here. This one is bisque. So it's a little orangey. Might not be the right shade for me, but we'll see. This one's thicker. The beige one, I can tell you that the beige one, the one here, is probably going to be the right shade for me. Yeah, that's way better. Alright, let me wipe this off really fast. What I really appreciate is that with buying multiple colors is that they're only $4 and some odd cents each, so I don't feel like I'm spending a ton of money to, you know, waste it. Alright, I am going to go back to the primer, and it's like I'm just going to fart all over your hand. And because this is not quite the right shade, it's a little dark, I am going to take just a tad bit of the lightest one, the one that makes me ghostly, and just kind of blot that in with it. And this will help blend them together to be a better shade match for me. Okay, immediately this is just so much better. I mean, it's on camera, it definitely looks like it doesn't match my body. It's because my body has a little bit more pink to it because I was out in the sun today. But it's okay. I mean, I should probably be a little bit more of a neutral tone, but this has more yellow in it than I am. But it'll do. I'm going to take that primer, the eye primer from before, and because it has some orange to it, I'm going to use it under the eyes to kind of help color correct with my dark circles, because, you know, late night studying, gotta earn my business degree. It helps to, you know, conceal some of that darkness. I'm gonna put a little bit here too, and I'll even throw a little bit on my nose because I have a nasty scab there that's a little purple. Yeah, this is doing a really nice job of that. We'll see how it lasts, right? I like this texture because it's really easy to blend. And then I'm going to use the Pro Concealer and just kind of tap over the top. It's going to brighten a little bit. I should have grabbed the slightly darker concealer, but whatever, I forgot. Sorry guys. But you can still see this in action. And because the foundation is still in my brush, it'll help that concealer kind of blend in a little bit more with the actual color of my skin, aka the foundation. I'm already loving how this is looking compared to that stark white look, which was just too, ugh, that was not a good look for me. See, my skin looks so much better with this foundation, given that it's a closer shade to me. Unfortunately, the scab on my nose is not going to be concealed very well. I have to use a different kind of concealer for it. Yeah, I'm liking this a lot better. I still have texture under my eye, so it's going to show up here. Let's go ahead and powder a little bit. I'm going to use the powder puff this time, since why not? This is a banana powder. I have texture here too, so you're seeing that. It looks like discoloration, but it's just the way the texture is playing out on my skin. It looks splotchy. Unfortunately, that can't really be helped too much. It is what it is. I'm going to apply just a tad bit more here. I didn't realize I missed that spot. And let's just add a little teeny bit more coverage here. Some of the foundation had lifted up because I applied that concealer in the brush, so I think I'm just going to have to use my finger to clean it up. That kind of lifted here too, so I'm not going to put powder on that after all. I'm just going to leave it and see how it does because there's a primer there. Alright, so that's it. I'm going to come back later and kind of show you how this wore. So, bye! Hey guys, I'm getting ready to go to bed. I wanted to show you from this weird angle. Sorry, boobage, but I'm in my pajamas. Whatever. Judge me all you want. I'm comfortable. I'm getting ready to take my makeup off, but I wanted to kind of show you this foundation. It is kind of oxidized. You can see it better from this view than you can when I flip it around. See? Hi Sandy. See my little kitty right there? Looks like I'm scratching her. Go back to the single. This foundation is okay. It's not my favorite. Texture-wise, it's okay, but one thing I don't like about it is that I can just kind of like slough it away. So it dries down to a powder finish, which would be ideal for most foundations. However, that powder kind of just sloughs away throughout the day. Like I have some residue on my hand, and it's kind of odd that it does that. And the concealer kind of wore away from my nose. So, I mean, this is textured, so it's not going to be disguised very well without like a really heavy duty concealer. And the one I used from them is just not that. But I just don't know that I like how this concealer kind of works with textures. So I won't recommend it if you have a really crepey under eye. It can really settle in on that area. And around the nose, like it just doesn't look as nice as it did when I originally applied it. Oh, this looks really weird because of the angle I'm at. I have a wide angle in. So you can just see that I have normal creasing here plus some texture. And it's just not the prettiest. There's some other concealers I like better. From afar it looks nice. Up close I can still see some dark circles just because some of the product kind of wore off, and that was with powder. And then some of the areas that didn't have powder, it's more noticeable. I don't know, like I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit of patchiness going on here. So, and around the chin too, where I had to like brush some stuff away earlier when I had fallout from my eyeshadow look. Tomorrow, the third day of testing, I think what I'm going to do is mix it with a moisturizer of sorts and do a little bit of a lighter coverage and see how that works. And then with the concealer, go a little bit more light-handed with it and see if that makes a difference. Anyway, I bid you farewell and good night, and see you in the next segment. Bye. It kind of kicked up around the nose too. I forgot to mention that, and around my mouth. Hey everyone, I'm back with day 3. Today I'm going to try something different with this foundation. It's very dry on me. When this foundation kind of dries down, it definitely has this more powdery finish, which is great if you have oily skin. I have combination skin that leans a little bit more dry than it does on the oily side. I get a little oily here and then around my nose, but that's about it. I'm going to do my duo combo. I don't know why I'm doing this, but the Ahava with Clinique. I'm going to do a pump of this and a little squeezy of my Ahava one. And then I'm going to take, it was beige that I liked. I'm going to do a pump and a half. There's going to be a lot of product here on my hand, but because it's moisturizer, it's going to be absorbed into the skin and hopefully leave a nice pigment behind. Alright, let's do this. I'm going to use my hands. It's obviously not as full coverage as it is when you apply it straight on, which I'm fine with. However, what I am noticing, my neighbors are making a lot of noise. That's what I'm noticing. I am noticing that some pigment is kind of just gathering around the creases of my nose. I don't know how to describe what it's doing, but it's like really patchy around the nose. Like there's not a lot of pigmentation through here, but there is around the other creases. It's just really odd. So, do you see what I mean? Like, it's not here. It's not even the lighting. Like, it's kind of like splotchy over here. I mean, I have some blemishes on my nose, but, and then under the eyes, it's just kind of weird. I will make note that I forgot to to put the primer on, but I also kind of want to try it without and see if that affects the foundation at all. So even here, it's just not fully opaque, whereas it just kind of is darker in some other spots, so it's really weird. It's not full coverage in certain areas. You saw me. I applied everything everywhere and I blended it in really well, and then some areas that was missing pigment, I just kind of tapped it in. So I'll do a little bit of concealer. Actually, I didn't like how this applied under the eyes so much. I don't know if it's because of the texture. This concealer it creates this gray cast is the only thing, so I'm kind of conflicted on what I want to do here. So I have the Bobbi Brown, it's a light to medium peach. I'm going to use a little bit of this under the eyes. This one, it's a true corrector. It's a little bit thicker than the eye primer that I've been using, so I'm going to see if this fares any better than what I used in the last segment. When you have really dark circles like I do today, it's really difficult to create like full coverage under the eyes with just a concealer without correcting it first, and you usually have to go darker with a complementary color like orange on the purple to counteract that purpleness. So it kind of blends okay, but you can definitely see a little bit of extra orange there. Now I'm going to take my concealer and apply that over the top. You're also going to notice on my hands I have these little stickers, and they're called micro needles. It's from my my naturopath, who's also an acupuncturist, and I'm doing like this take-home like version of acupuncture because I popped a rib out and I have a lot of inflammation in my body, as you can imagine. I basically dislocated a rib. It happens all the time because I have costochondritis, I think is what it's called. But basically, it is the inflammation of the cartilage in the ribs. I'm actually liking how this is applying with the Bobbi Brown underneath compared to what it looked like yesterday. Normal creasing happens, but it looks so much smoother than what it looked like the other day. So this might be the better application method for the concealer. I'm going to do a little bit on the nose here too. It's like a big pit in my nose and it's really not helping. Like, there's hardly a way to disguise that because it's like a big gouge. Now that the foundation and moisturizer is set in, I really like how this is looking. This looks so much better than it did yesterday. So I think I found a way to wear this. I have a little bit more glow to my skin. Like, it looks like natural skin. It's not like stark, powdery, matte finish, which is what this foundation does without the moisturizer. So I'm taking the concealer and just kind of highlighting my face. I like this. This is so much better. So this might be my recommendation if you have drier skin. I am going to dust just a tad bit of powder on top. I don't really want to use the powder puff because it will just pack on a little too much powder for my liking, and I really like this glow that I have really well, and just kind of pat it just so it stays in place. I don't want that concealer to move, and it's going to crease anyway. I feel much better about this. I'm going to use less product next time. I'm just going to wear this for a while and I'll come back and let you know what I think. So, bye for now. I'm back. Yay. Hey. It is really late. I don't even know what time it is right now. And I've been wearing this foundation, I want to say for about 8-ish hours. Full disclaimer, when I did this makeup look, obviously there's going to be a little bit of fallout, so I ended up having to redo some of my concealer, but I basically did exactly what I did before with the color corrector, with the Bobbi Brown color corrector, with the lighter LA Girl concealer over the top. And then I decided, just in case there was more fallout, to add a little bit of powder. And this time I used the powder puff and just kind of pressed it in and then brushed it away. Because I didn't do that originally, but I did that only for these things, this color and this darkness. My lighting's pretty true to color right now, so you can see that there's a bit of texture showing through, but honestly that's going to be the same for everyone. You do see some of my dark circles popping in, and obviously ignore the skin texture on my nose. You can see where some of the pigment had gathered around my fine lines, but granted, I forgot to put primer on today, but I actually like the way this looks without the primer. I don't know if it's this particular primer or just the combination of the foundation with the primer, or maybe the concealer and all of that stuff. There's 2 variables that I changed with this look. Actually 3 technically. I didn't use a primer. I mixed my foundation in with my moisturizer and applied that with my hands. And then for concealer, I did the under eye correction with a Bobbi Brown one. Then I did the LA Girl concealer over the top. I think that's the winning combination for me, because from afar my skin looks amazing. My blush stayed in place. My highlighter is still pretty on point. And I'm not missing any pigmentation in any noticeable areas, whereas the other day when I looked in the mirror, I was missing pigment all over the place. I am missing a little bit here on the bridge of my nose, and a little bit here in between my eyes a little bit, and a little bit on my chin, but not too noticeable. I am actually quite pleased with how this looks. I would wear this again. I think it's just a little tricky to find the right combination. For me, again, I have normal to dry skin, but sometimes it's combination with a little bit of oil around my nose and a little bit on my forehead, but nothing major. Like, you can see there's a little bit of glow on my forehead. I'm not wearing bronzer, and I applied just a teeny bit of blush, but it was matte onto my forehead, so my moisture kind of came right through, so it doesn't look too patchy, it doesn't look too matte, doesn't look too dry, doesn't look too cracked or any of that stuff. So I think this works for me. Of course, what works for me is not going to work for everybody else, but for a $4.50 foundation, I couldn't be more pleased. You know, it just takes some playing around with to get the right combo. For $4.50, do I recommend this foundation? Yes. However, with a caveat. I recommend that if you have dry skin to kind of stay away from this foundation. It's not going to be very forgiving with texture, unfortunately. So if you have dry patches, scaly skin, any of that stuff, it's not going to look good on it, as you've seen in other clips. The concealer I find to be pretty creamy. I would like to get a darker shade because the one I have is just a tad bit too light, but I like the lighter one to brighten, although it does not do a good job with the color correction, and it's just not going to. It's not meant to cover really dark circles. It's just not how color theory works. You have to have a darker base that's going to counteract the exact color of the dark circles. So if they're blue or purple, you need something opposite on the color wheel, which would be an orange kind of shade, like salmon or coral or orange or something along those lines, to help counter all the dark circles. You lay that down first and then you can brighten. As you noticed earlier, that really helped. I like the Bobbi Brown with that, with the brightening concealer over the top. I think that looked really nice, and it looked nice, and it creased just slightly without the powder, but I would have gotten away with not having to put powder on had it not been for me wanting to do a bold makeup look after the fact. It is possible that I applied too much primer. That might be why the foundation just kind of brushed or slipped off. I don't know that these two products are made for each other. So basically all this primer is dimethicone cyclopentyl siloxane, which is another silicone base, and then there's cross polymer. It helps to like smooth textures, I believe. Silica. So this is not water based and it's not oil based, so it's very much like your silicone base. The foundation has water and then dimethicone. So I guess it kind of already has a built-in primer because of the dimethicone. So it might be that I just had too much of the dimethicone on my face that it was just slipping all over. So without the primer, however, I find that it applied so much better, and then I, did my double whammy of moisturizer and just really buffed that in with my fingers. I think that looked really nice. The powder's main ingredient is mica, which is not talc, by the way. Mica actually has a little bit more of a luminosity to it, just slight, not a lot, but just slight, because it's a mineral versus talc. And there's also dimethicone in here, although it's lower on the ingredient list. So overall, the HD powder I think is a really good deal, especially if you can't have talc. It does have a starch in it, so if you have issues with cornstarch or anything of that nature, it might not be good for your skin. But I don't find that many people have issues with that. But this is meant to like help smooth and blur out your skin. The foundations all are water-based, so that means that it should look more natural on your skin. They should work well, especially if you have an oily-based skin. You do not want oil-based or cream-based foundations if you have oily skin, especially when you're in heat. So I think these would be really great for you if you have oily skin, or maybe even combination oily skin, just to help mattify certain areas of your face. I would skip the primer because you already have dimethicone in here. The concealer is also water-based, but it has cyclopentasiloxane and beeswax. Not vegan, by the way. So that means that's what gives it its thicker consistency. Kind of like if you've ever used the Bye Bye Under Eye Concealer by IT Cosmetics. It's not as thick as that, but it definitely has that same kind of feel in a lot of ways with how pigmented it is, which is really great. I'm eager to try a darker one of this. So with these ingredients in mind, not really great for dry skin, good for combination oily, so I made that work by mixing that in with a moisturizer. Another thing I didn't try, which might be something to try, is that I did not use a makeup sponge to apply it. I used my fingers and I used a brush. If sponges are your thing, you might have an easier time not adding too much product, because that's what I struggled with the first day. A lot of people that I've come across online rave about this concealer, and I can understand why. I don't think you need to set it, which is awesome. Out of all these products, I have to say I really like the powder. The foundation's good, but I will have to, it's a little fussy for me, so it probably won't be my go-to, but I'll still wear it. The concealer is nice. I will not use this light color to actually conceal. It'll just be more of a brightening concealer for me, but if I get the right shade, then who knows, that might actually be a better option for my under eyes. That's a lot of information. I hope your brains aren't on overload, because mine is. I've been working on math homework for the last couple of hours and studying for an exam I have tomorrow, so my brain's a little fried thinking of all this quadratic stuff. So quadratic plus silicones and chemistry, I'm just like, I'm done. I'm ready to go to bed. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Again, leave any questions below or any suggestions, or maybe if you have any other thoughts, or maybe you use this product a little differently that you would like to recommend. I would love to hear your feedback. Obviously, I'm not a product expert. I'm just a makeup artist and enthusiast who has very distinct ways that I do things, but I'm happy to learn new techniques all the time. Anyway, that's rambling. I'm gonna go to bed. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, or wherever you are in your day, and I'll see you next time. Stay electric as always. Bye!